I never believed in ghost stories until that bitter winter night at St. Agnes Church, a centuries-old stone structure on the outskirts of a sleepy town. I'd heard the rumors, whispers of a lost parishioner who wandered the halls long after the last candle had burned out, the sound of footsteps in the empty nave, and a sorrowful hymn that echoed through the crypt. But nothing prepares you for what happens when you experience it firsthand. It began on a particularly cold evening. I was visiting the town on a business trip, and the locals insisted that I see the church, a landmark with stained glass windows that had seen generations pass. I arrived just before sunset. The sky was a murky blend of dark blues and grays as the church's silhouette loomed against the fading light. Something about its silent majesty sent shivers down my spine. Inside, the air was cool and heavy with incense and history. I wandered through the pews, admiring the intricate woodwork and the faded frescoes that adorned the walls. I found myself drawn to the altar area, where a solitary candle burned in a glass case. As I stood there, a sudden chill swept through the church, and I could swear the flame flickered in a way that wasn't caused by the draft. After a few moments of quiet contemplation, I moved toward the side chapel. It was there that I first heard it, a soft, sorrowful melody drifting from somewhere beyond the heavy wooden door that led to the crypt. I hesitated, my heart pounding, but curiosity overrode my fear. I pushed the door open, half expecting to find an old organ left to play by itself. Instead, I stepped into a narrow corridor lined with ancient stone walls and dimly lit by the glow of a single lantern. The sound was unmistakable, a gentle, almost weeping tune that seemed to come from deep within the crypt. As I followed the sound, my footsteps echoed on the cold, damp floor. Every step felt heavier than the last, as if the weight of the centuries was pressing down on me. I reached the entrance to the crypt, a heavy iron gate that, to my surprise, was ajar. I pushed the gate open, and a cold blast of air rushed out, carrying with it the faint smell of earth and decay. I descended the narrow stone steps into the crypt. The air here was even colder, and the darkness seemed almost tangible. I flicked on my flashlight and scanned the rows of old stone tombs, their inscriptions worn away by time. Then I saw it, in the far corner, a small figure huddled near an unmarked grave. My breath caught. The figure was dressed in tattered garments, and its back was turned to me. I called out softly, "Hello," but the figure did not move. Instead, the tune, soft and mournful, seemed to grow louder, and I realized it was coming from the direction of the figure. I inched closer until I could make out the outline of a woman, her head bowed as if in eternal sorrow. Her face was partially hidden in shadow, but when I finally reached out, she slowly raised her head. Her eyes, wide and sorrowful, locked with mine. For a long, agonizing moment, I felt as if she was pleading silently for help. I tried to speak, but my voice failed me. Then, just as suddenly as she had appeared, the sound of the melody cut off, replaced by an oppressive silence. The woman's features blurred and faded into the darkness, and I was left standing alone in the crypt, heart pounding and mind racing. I bolted up the steps, the memory of those haunted eyes etched into my mind. When I finally emerged into the cold night air, I didn't dare look back at the church. The locals later told me that St. Agnes had been the site of a tragic accident, a young woman who had died on the steps decades ago, and whose spirit was said to roam the crypt, forever mourning her lost life. I still think about that night, about the undeniable sorrow in her eyes. I learned that some places carry with them a weight of history that goes beyond the living, a reminder that the past never truly dies, and sometimes, it reaches out in the darkness.